Fun with Stories. This podcast contains audio advertising. To hear it without ads, download the Fun with Stories app now. Welcome to Fun with Stories, the podcast where words come to life through exciting adventures and laugh-out-loud moments. Every episode, we take a tricky word, throw it into a fun-filled story featuring your favorite fairy tale and folk story characters, and make sure you'll never forget it. So, are you ready to learn new words the fun way with Little Red Riding Hood, Puss in Boots, the Gingerbread Man, Snow White, and more? Then let's jump into today's adventure on Fun with Stories.
Gran's Jumbled Genius, a story full of silly swaps. Gran's mix-ups may be silly, but they might just steal your heart. Ollie loved his Gran. She made pancake stars, wore teapots as hats, because they made Tuesdays feel fancier, and always had a hug ready. But she also said the silliest things. One morning, Gran called from the kitchen, "Don't forget your thermostat." Ollie blinked. "You mean thermos?" Gran giggled. "Yes, that's what I said. Close enough." Later that day, she pointed to the kettle and said, "Can you refill the canister, dear?" "You mean kettle?" Ollie asked. She burst out laughing. "That, too." That night, Ollie asked his mom, "Why does Gran always mix up her words?" Mom smiled. "She's always been that way. It's called a malapropism." "A what?" A malapropism is when someone uses the wrong word by mistake. It sounds a bit like the right one, but it's not, and it usually ends up sounding silly or funny. Ollie loved the idea. He started writing Gran's best mix-ups in a little red notebook titled Gran's Great Malapropism Moments. When Gran came to school for Grandparents' Tea Day, Ollie read some of his favorites aloud. She told me to read quietly from my stationery, but she meant dictionary." The class burst out laughing. "And last week," he added, "she said I was intoxicated on cookies. She meant overexcited." Even the teacher chuckled. But Gran gave only a small smile. On the walk home, she was unusually quiet. "Gran?" Ollie asked. "You okay?" She looked down. "I didn't know I was so mixy-uppy. Maybe I'm getting forgetful. Ollie stopped. "Gran, I didn't mean to laugh at you. Your malapropisms are my favorite thing. They're funny, but also you. And they gave me the best story idea ever." That weekend, Ollie entered the school writing contest. His story was called The Gran Who Spoke in Jumbles, about a wonderfully odd grandma who mixed up her words and made the world brighter. He won second place. At the reading event in the town library, Gran stood at the front of the room holding the printed story in both hands. Her teapot hat sat proudly on her head. "I'm thrilled to be your speaker," she said with a smile. "Though I may accidentally say photograph when I mean paragraph. Just a fair warning." The room roared with laughter. Gran read every line aloud, with heart, humor, and just the right amount of mix-ups. Ollie beamed from the front row. A malapropism is when someone uses the wrong word by mistake. It sounds a bit like the right one, but it's not, and it usually ends up sounding silly or funny. She read proudly. She paused and added, "The word malapropism comes from a funny character in an old play, Mrs. Malaprop, who always got her words jumbled just like me." When the story ended, the room filled with warm applause. Ollie hugged her tight. Because even the wrong words can tell the right story. They can make people laugh, bring families closer, and turn ordinary days into something unforgettable, especially when they come from someone you love. Gran may have jumbled her words, but she never jumbled her heart. And Ollie knew. Her mix-ups were magic.
It's recap time. Let's remember the new word we learned today. Spelling malapropism. Malapropism. Meaning, a malapropism is when someone uses the wrong word by mistake. It sounds a bit like the right one, but it's not, and it usually ends up sounding silly or funny. Synonyms: slip of the tongue, word mix-up, verbal mistake. Antonyms: correct usage, proper wording, clear speech. Examples: Sam said I looked prehistoric when she meant patriotic. That's a malapropism. He called the violin a violence. Another classic malapropism. Try using it sometime, just not by mistake.
And that brings us to the end of today's adventure. We've explored a brand new word, had some fun with our favorite storybook characters, and now it's your turn to use it in real life. Want more fun stories and exciting words to learn? Download the Fun with Stories app for extra content, activities, and even more magical word adventures. Thanks for listening, and remember, words are powerful when you make them yours. See you next time on Fun with Stories.